Thanks for tuning in to the Drive On podcast, where we are focused on giving hope and strength to the entire military community. Whether you're a veteran, active duty, guard, reserve, or a family member, this podcast will share inspirational stories and resources that are useful to you. I'm your host, Scott DeLucio, and now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, today my guest is James Karp. James served as a Marine in Fallujah and also was in the French Foreign Legion. After his time in the military, he started a nonprofit running sailing trips for veterans. So welcome to the show, James. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, real quick. Grew up as an Army brat during the Cold War, and then 9/11 hit, and I think the 1% of people my age, we all joined the Marines. I was with 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines out of Hawaii. Got to travel the Pacific. Then we went into Fallujah in 2004, and we did so well that they let us go into Afghanistan afterwards. And then I got out for a year, and I think like most veterans, I missed the lifestyle, but I wanted to do something different. So then I went into the French Foreign Legion. Mm-hmm. And as we'll talk today too, there's a lot of careers I did in between 5 years here, 4 years here, which I just found great for veterans, because I think as a veteran, you need to find something that gives you meaning and is challenging, but it's also cool. Right. I want to hit on that because I've actually never said it out loud. I'm thinking about it. We join the military to find something cool. We get out, and I think it's a search to find something cool again. And I've met civilians that were working a job that was, and no discredit, but it was mundane. It was nice, not easy, but very vanilla. But those are the same people, not all civilians, but there's certain people that they like that job. They don't want to do anything outside that job. And I found that sometimes the challenge as veterans were going into those careers where there was no meaning, no action, and, not being as happy in life. So, different careers I've found I love promoting. And then obviously now that I'm in Miami, we've got some sailboats out here, and we've got some good people that are providing dive lessons and opportunities to get out on the water and do other things besides sit on the couch, drink, and post on Facebook.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of veterans who get out of the military, no matter what branch they're in. You're in Marines, but any branch I think is going to be similar, where they get out of the military and they just don't feel that fulfillment or that sense of purpose or belonging in the civilian life that they get into. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that and see what your thoughts are on, finding that sense of purpose and belonging after the military, and what it is that you did in those various transitions after the military. But that would be something cool to talk about too. But I want to jump into the French Foreign Legion a little bit. It's definitely something that it's got a little bit of a little bit of mystery around it. It's one of those things that you've heard about. I think everyone's heard about it, and you don't really know too much about it. It's just like one of those organizations that's out there, and what is it all about, and what made you want to join the French Foreign Legion?
I saw a movie on TMC when I was a kid. I can't remember it, but these 4 brothers just went to a random army and then went to the desert. And there's just something romantic. My degree's in history, and you just find story after story of men, and women, obviously, that just something gets in an itch. They get on a boat or a plane and they just go do something crazy. Mm-hmm. That's for, I think, the people that join. And for France, it started as a way where the economy was so bad, and this is in the 1830s, you had people migrating to France looking for work after revolutions. And France had an empire it needed to maintain, and losing foreigners is a lot easier than losing citizens. And so I think it started out as just a way to get rid of immigrants, not get rid of immigrants, that's rough, provide opportunities for immigrants, and also politically have an arm that didn't have so much baggage when there was issues. Right. And it's a lot easier to lose it's a lot easier to lose an immigrant than it is a citizen. Yeah. But I mean, that was the time too where colonialism didn't have the negative connotation that it has today. So that's kind of the history. and I'm not a historian on the Legion, just what I've read, but it's always been a place where people can go and disappear as well. One of the traditions is you get to change your name, and you see it grow and decline with France's influence. So when I got in, I want to say it was only a 9,000 man unit, which is important to always remember, because sometimes smaller is better, but sometimes smaller limits your facilities and your training operations. And I was only in for a limited time. I did about a year, and then I decided to leave. And you're actually able to leave after a year. It just, when people talk about it, I don't want to rag on it. First of all, I want to say, anybody that wants to join the French Foreign Legion, look it up. Have a 3-week plane ticket with a return ticket if you don't make selection. Go to Paris, go to Fort Déjeuner, I think, and the taxi will take you there. Don't do drugs. They will drug test you. And be in shape. The better in shape you are, the better chance you have. Bring your discharge papers. Those do help. There's a selection process. And the sad part is sometimes it's not that you can't make it. It's just there's limited space. 9,000 men, they can't take everybody that comes every year. The selection part is always just a crapshoot. I don't know how it works. There were men that I saw with time in the Spanish Legion that didn't make selection, and I saw kids from Poland with no military experience come in. I think the people that have the Legion needs you to stay for 5 years. So my experience in there was the men that had limited military training before they went in did better because there wasn't any standards they were used to.
Right.
The Legion is what the Legion is. And, getting in, it was the best way to say it is, because when I got out, a couple of my old commanders, everybody kind of reached out and heard what I had done and wanted to know what was it like. And I said, you'll never appreciate how hard the American military is till you go to a foreign military and actually enlist. Because I think when we work with foreign militaries, they're always when two militaries get together, it's a pissing contest. So, 1st Battalion goes and works with the Rock Marines. Well, the Rock Marines, I've heard, are pretty solid, but any other military they're going to send you their best guys, and everybody's going to train for that month. And you're going to see the best of the best, and everybody's going to show off. But the reality is when you get to the actual unit yourself, you're going to kind of get a better insight of what's happening. And my experience was there's a lot of waiting around, which is normal in the Army. But when you do get selected, you go do the farm, and it's just not a boot camp. It's you go to the farm. There's like a select things they need you to hit, learn how to march real quick, which isn't that hard. They're constantly teaching you French, and then there's just a lot of garrison duties. It was limited field time, but hazing and that instructional training that you got in the Marine Corps, I just never saw because they don't have a dedicated cadre of instructors. And the way it was is they were just pulling and selecting corporals and sergeants to come back to 4th Regiment. 4th Regiment's where you train. So it was like, hey, Sergeant, whatever, and Corporal, whatever, this is yours. This is your squad. Don't let them desert. Was there hitting and slapping? I mean, yes. But my experiences from Marine Corps boot camp to the French Foreign Legion is I'll take a slap in the face before I have to go spend, 20 to 30 minutes in a sand pit.
Right.
It was quick and easy. And then you moved on. They tried to starve you. And the French found out because, me and the Royal Marines and the Royal Para or the British Paras, we kind of worked together. We didn't starve. This wasn't our first rodeo. Right. There was only one man with fire watch. We'd wake up, we'd break into the chow hall, and we'd eat bacon gravy. It became a problem because as all the other Europeans were starving a little bit, we were getting a little fat on the neck. They give the French love their bread. So any bread that doesn't get eaten that day goes to the horses. Well, I'm an American. I'll eat the fuck out of anything. I'll just go and steal from the horses. I always tell this story because when I got back to the 4th Regiment, I got put on duty to work for the, every company has a bar, and you'll see the officers come, and very French, everybody has their coffee and at lunch and maybe a wine at the end. And I got to work the bar, and one day the potato salad or noodle salad was one day over, and told me to go to throw it in the back of a dumpster. So I grabbed it. It was a man-sized dumpster, and I'm in the back. And heck, I'm from Texas, so I start scooping the shit out of it, eating it. And this sergeant walks by. He doesn't know the situation, but he does know I'm an American. He just sees this American eating noodle salad out of a dumpster, and he's like, "Oh putain, qu'est-ce que tu fais? C'est pas normal." You know, when you're traveling as an American, you know this. You're the representative of America. So if that person only meets you, that's all they know about America.
That's
so
all
right
they
now,
know,
somewhere
right?
in the world, there's a French sergeant that will tell people all he knows about America is he's seen them eat noodle salad out of a trash can. And if you meet that guy, it was me, USA.
That's a proud representative of America right there. But I mean, it's got to be kind of interesting serving with people from all over, because my understanding is the French Foreign Legion takes people from all over the world. It's not necessarily just Western countries or anything like that. They take pretty much anyone from all over. So you get a lot of mixed backgrounds coming in to different varying levels of military experience, like you said, and different cultural things, and definitely not very many people probably eating out of dumpsters, while you're there. So. So it had to be pretty interesting. So I'm glad you got to talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure some of the listeners would be pretty interested in hearing about what that process was all like.
The thing is, you get a fake name, and then when you get out, it's really hard to track out what you did. So guys can get out and embellish stories, and that's in our military too.
Yes.
The kills go up, the action goes up, but I got out and I said, and I stick to it. It's a place to, honestly, the people that the best success were people that came from no countries, that weren't really caring about a military, but they could get in. They got a paycheck. I mean, I knew a Polish guy. He would just sit on his bed, not spend any money. He didn't care. He knew 5 years, all this money was going to go back to Poland. He was going to go back and start a business. He didn't care about being in the military. He didn't care about shooting a weapon. And those guys were the ones that did. But they do serve. They are dying in Mali. They are dying in Afghanistan. At the time, nobody was deploying. And that was my downfall. As I was looking around, I was meeting guys coming back from the regiment, and everybody was telling me, "You're doing what you do here, but in the southern France." And I'd already had a taste of purpose in the civilian world, where that freedom of, you could operate with that Marine mentality, but with more freedom. And once you've tasted that and started your own business and done things, to go back to the military and start over again and not doing anything. I mean, when I talked to the colonel, we all talked to the colonel because they did not want us to go civil. I said, "You got to keep me busy. I can't just, we're 3 weeks, we're just sitting around." I was begging to work at the chow hall just to do something.
Just to do something, have some purpose. Yeah.
So if people are listening, I'm not saying don't join, go join, but be prepared to stare at a wall for 3 weeks. I don't think it was better than the old Legion. I think this has always been the Legion. It's just wait around and go fight. But you're going to clean 3 times a day, and the marching's easy. Mm-hmm. Even if you only do it a year, it is fun. I mean, to march through these old antiquated towns and with your La Tradition, you have your Capi Blanc and everything. That's the fun part. Like, you have little fun moments. But to do 5 years of just hanging out, I was like, send me to war, send me home. I can't do this,
right.
Because I had tasted it. I had tasted in the Marines. I was very fortunate in the Marines that when I got in, it was blowing and going. We were going straight to Iraq, straight to Afghanistan. The couple moments I had tasted of garrison were horrible in the Marines. Mm-hmm. I was very fortunate I didn't have to do that. I do want to say this, though. Peacetime soldiering and marining, I don't know if that's a word, I think is harder, because you have to keep up that level. So anybody that's serving right now and is pissed off they're not in combat, it's a weird thing to say, but what you're doing right now and how you're operating and training is going to save lives in the future. I got to a unit that hadn't been to a war since Vietnam, but we went to Fallujah and we did amazing things, because for 30 years or 20 years, guys that hadn't operated, they kept that level up. Even when it's hard to do, it's hard to go out and pretend like you're in war. Mm-hmm. And the guys that did their job and kept that professional up, they saved lives in Iraq. So if you served from 92 to 96 and you didn't hear a shot fired in anger, You saved lives in Iraq because you kept that level. And I'd seen in the Legion where I don't think that level had been kept.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because I know there's guys that don't get to go to combat and they have that guilt, never have that guilt. I say people that serve, you're always in danger. We lose guys all the time. You lost 7 at AAV. You lose them in helicopters, live fire ranges. It's a dangerous job. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's a really good point of how people, especially between like major conflicts, like between Vietnam and Desert Storm through, post 9/11 era, where there were not any, huge major, conflicts that the U.S. was taking part in. If you let that standard slip, then you're right. You're going to end up losing more lives in the future when those guys end up going to war somewhere, because it's probably inevitable that we'll be in some war at some point in the future. So you definitely, as a leader, you definitely don't want to let those standards slip, and you want to pass on that information, that knowledge that you have from deployments, from training, from everything else that you've experienced in your time in the military. Pass that on to the next generation of soldiers so that they could pass it on to the next generation, so that they're eventually ready to go to war.
And there's always that question, I think everybody in this service is, how am I going to react in a real-time situation? And I honestly believe if you're not just a total piece of shit, you'll do well. Like, right. I mean, you can't surrender nowadays. There's no running back home. But the way they train now, it always goes back in the day, the training was harder. I don't think so. I think the trainer only gets better. Like, well, we didn't make phone calls. Okay, now we get to make a phone call. Whatever. You've got 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds that know how to operate a whole system with aircraft and artillery coming in. Now they're in more civil affairs operations. They're smarter. World War II, greatest generation, but the level of education wasn't there. I don't think they would be able to operate in today's climate.
Right.
So guys that are listening to this that never served, I tell you what, if you had a good relationship with your team while you were in, mm-hmm. I really believe when the shots got fired, I'd have no doubt you would have done fine. Would you have
Absolutely.
Been scared? Of course. There's only one case. Well, there was only one case I had seen where somebody cowered out, and that's his business. He has to live with that. Mm-hmm. It was funny because he was a talker and he played games. But when, the shit hit the fan, so if you weren't a piece of shit and people liked you, because it's that love, I think that you have the training that'll keep you alive, but you'll have that love that'll keep your courage.
That gives you the drive. Like, you're fighting for the people who are standing next to you, or, laying in the foxhole, or whatever it is, whatever analogy you want to use. You're fighting for them. You want to make sure that they stay alive too, as much as yourself. You don't want to end up seeing a friend get injured or killed or anything like that. So
it was a funny story. I don't want to kill too much time. I'm doing archaeology now. Mm-hmm. Now, and I was working with this guy. He's out of college, never been in the military, and we were working archaeology. You go to places nobody's going to, so some tough country out here. There's a lot of my infantry skills I'm using again, but we got shot at. A couple bullets went over near this range because I don't think people were in the area usually. I know when they're quick and I know when they're close. And I told him, get the fuck down when it was close. And he did great. He got mm-hmm. down. He had these Coke bottle glasses, got down, eyes wide. He starts crawling to me. And I'm crawling, and we crawl out. He's tense. And it's all just coming at him. I was like, you realize you just got shot at, right? And he's like, wow, is this what it feels like? I was like, yeah, you feel good, huh? And you can just see the adrenaline's going. I said, now you don't have the training, but now you know how you're going to react. You were calm, you followed orders, and we went through. Not a lot of people get tested like that.
Right.
And you could see them. So the next day we go back out. We don't go back to that part. We go to a little bit of a safer area, but you're still hearing the cracks. And he's flinching. And I start laughing at him. You're doing good, shell shock, Johnny. Johnny shell shock. But it was funny all day. He's just flinching a little bit. He's like, how long does this last? I was like, I don't know.
It could be a while. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the sailing club that you have for veterans and the things that you do with that. What's the purpose behind it, and what do you do with the veterans with the sailing?
I always used to tell people I went to 2 wars, and then I got divorced. Still dealing with this divorce and trying to get my kids back. So now I tell people I've been to 3 wars, and the third one's been the worst. I mean, it was tragic trying to work these things out. We get back from war, and at the end of every movie, you never see what happens. The reality is maybe 10 years down the road, you're going to deal with something again. So I was in Germany at the time. I worked over there teaching English, and then went back this time. Anyway, we got divorced, had to leave. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to go home, and I was bad. I was in a bad zone. So I got on the Facebook, got back to the tribe. A lot of guys reached out, and another guy from Bravo, we were in infantry school together. He said, "Hey, I'm on a boat in Miami. Why don't you come out here? We'll go to sea." I said, "Fuck it." Bought a ticket. We went. Flew into Miami. He picks me up, true Marine Corps fashion, middle of the night. We get in a little boat. We go out to sea. And I got this luggage, and we're just going out. We were able to go sail, for 2 weeks down to Key West. I had another buddy that runs a fishing operation, went to go fish with him. I mean, this was perfect. At the time I had been drinking again. So I had to detox. So before we sailed, I went to the Miami VA to detox, which was, once again, shout out to the VA for that. I had to get sober again. As we were talking, he had been in the situation. I was in the situation. We knew other guys in the situation. And we, Sebastian Junger's, the book, The Tribe, really hit home. And sometimes we have to come back to the tribe. Maybe not, I'm out there permanently, but maybe not permanently, maybe for 2 weeks, maybe just for a week, maybe 2 days, because we had gone to the reunions, and the reunions were always great. I'd only been to one, but every 10 years or every year they do it. But if drinking with the boys for 1 day or 2 days is fun and it's important, I'd rather not drink, but what can you do besides drinking as another option, and coming out to sail, and especially guys that want to get sober. They don't have to be sober. We just don't drink on the boat because it is dangerous. There's a lot of ways to die out there if you're dicking around. But, if you've been trained in the military and you know what to look for, or at least be on the edge and follow orders, that's the important thing. Follow orders. You can have a blast, but you're kind of having the adrenaline at the same time. You're going out to these different islands. We're snorkeling. We've got a diver we know who was in the Navy for 30 years that gives classes for diving. So we got a couple guys to go diving. These are the options. This is the club we've kind of formed. We're getting another boat in, and eventually we want to sail and go grab some coffee and bring it back to the States. That's the end game on it. But right now, logistics, because everybody's working, is just getting guys to come out, go for a sail. And it doesn't have to be guys from our battalion, anybody, and just kind of reconnecting, for that time. And there's something majestic about going, especially when you got the speakers playing the soundtrack to the Vikings.
Well, I had listened to another podcast episode that you were on, just kind of prepping for this episode, and you talked a little bit about sailing to go get like coffee in other countries. You talked about a sailing trip to Haiti. Is that something that you're looking to do in the future? Is that something you've already done, or is this going to eventually be a regular thing where you do this often?
We want to do it regular. And then, we want to do it, and we're going to do it. We're just, right now it's, we got to get this boat down, and the timeline pushed into hurricane season. So,
which is less than ideal.
Yeah. So then we went, okay, let's do this now. And this is the thing. I challenge anybody to do it, to go form any club they want: hunting, fishing, sailing. We'd like other people to get involved. And if they're on the other side of the country, with our banner or not, but just do this, but understand you're going to have little doldrums where I got to go out to a project in New Mexico and find some artifacts, and he's got to go work the rig. Another guy's got a job, and another guy. So the timeline's been pushed probably, 6 months to a year, but it's still happening because we come out and we go do things. The coffee's going to happen. The more we've looked into Haiti, the more we're looking at Colombia, just because it looked closer. We're going to do it. I just don't know what country right now. And if we can find some contacts in Haiti, we're going to go to Haiti. I still want to go to Haiti, but the more research we did, Colombia is looking a lot safer right now because nobody wants to die.
Right.
The problem is Cuba is 24 hours away from Key West. And and I'm not getting political, I don't care what party's in there, but these dingbats would figure out that capitalism destroys communism through trade. Give me my boats. I get out there. Uh, in 24 hours, I'll bring you back some solid Cuban coffee sailed by veterans
Right.
and let the magic happen. And, it's trade for trade. We want to bring medical supplies anywhere we go. That's another thing we've thought about and realized that's going to be an easier option too. Bring medical supplies or just clothes. Go to these clothes banks where they're just about to be thrown away and bring those out there. That's for free. Then we're buying coffee from the actual farmers. And I've said this on the other podcasts. I can't get greener than sailing in a sailboat, buying from an actual farmer that used horse shit and bringing back to the States. I can't, so
Right.
because I know companies that slap that little green on there, and I've worked for them. And green's a wide terminology. I don't want to
Sure.
get sued here, but so that's going to happen. It's just like with anything. It's I'm out here working. I'm like, oh man, I feel like we've got time. And then the problem is you'll get like 2 weeks, nothing's happening. And then 1 week, boom, things are happening. And we got 2 more boats coming in and we've got the diving going. So it comes and goes and just monitoring that wave. It's a good thing, but the timeline, I thought we would be a lot quicker, but hurricane season, now the priority is not losing what we have. So
Right.
we got to get everything into the mangroves if one hits. And then once we come out of hurricane season, we're going to get rocking and rolling.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how was, like, in the grand scheme of things, all these trips, these sailing trips, and kind of fixing up the boats that you do have and getting them ready to go. How does that all fit into the idea of, like, trying to help out the veterans who come down and are doing the work and putting the time in with this stuff?
I'm not anti-medication, but medication doesn't fix everything. And the bottom line, I've seen time and time again, because I'm not talking out of my ass. I've been up to the crazy house in Tripler. I've been up to the crazy house in the VA, and veteran after veteran doesn't have purpose. And sailing is if it's not sailing, fishing, hunting, these groups are popping up for a reason. I'm not anti-medication. I'm definitely not anti-counseling. There's another group I work out of Houston. I joined their sessions via Zoom, and these are amazing. I wish we would have had these when I got out. We didn't. It is what it is. But I want these groups ready for the next war, because we're America. We're not going to stop. You want to be the best, you got to do. We're going to have more wars. But I want to have a better system where guys are coming out, and obviously the VA is always going to be overloaded. But having areas where they can go get counseling and the bottom line, have purpose. Even if it's for that 2 weeks, when you're back at your job with your family, you're going to Viking up with the boys and the girls, or whatever they identify as, them,
Right.
and you're going to go back out and do something and have that yearly trip. And it's important. I think it's important in relationships too, where I looked back at my last marriage. We traveled a lot, but as a couple, sometimes it's okay for the woman to go out and travel, the man to go out and travel. These are very important, very healthy things. And we want to provide that, because then the veteran comes back to the family, a little bit more regenerated, has some stories in his brain as he's working the job that he's just doing to get money. So it's about finding purpose.
And that's, I think, the key aspect to a lot of veterans transition issues is just that lack of purpose. You identify as a Marine, a soldier, a sailor, airman, whatever the case may be, for so long, and you all of a sudden one day you take off the uniform and you're out, and now you don't have that identity anymore. Now you're, I don't know, a burger flipper, whatever it is that you're doing now. And you just don't feel that sense of purpose anymore. Like the job that you're doing now maybe just doesn't seem to matter quite as much as the job that you did in the military. And so finding that sense of purpose and a tribe, I think you used that word before, a tribe of people that are like-minded, they have similar interests, and all that kind of stuff. You want to find those people so that you can talk to them and be yourself around them. You can't always be yourself at your 9 to 5 job, because there's certain standards that have to be upheld and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be swearing at customers or whatever. So, you want to find the people that you can just kind of be yourself, around those people.
Yeah. And veterans, it's not a hall pass to get out and you start yelling at people. I remember in the military, some of the best leaders I had didn't yell at people. The best leaders I had would just say something and make you feel disappointment and motivation. So when I see veterans coming out and screaming at people, I wonder how they operated in the military, because I was in the Marines and infantry and hardcore and all of that. But some of the best leaders were very, down to earth, had a mission, and we went, they'd shoot your ass in a heartbeat if it was something safety violation. But there's that attitude of coming out and being this hard charger. It can be revamped. Also less is more. And the new veterans, the mistakes I've learned is, civilians are going to be curious, but they don't have a right to know everything. And when they ask you about your service, have a simple answer. If they want to know about the combat, I don't think they have a right to know about it. I don't think they have the right to have notes. No, I'm very open about my story, and I'll tell everybody things that have happened to me because I want the veteran to hear about it and know that, man, you can really push on, hold on to it. You want to keep that memory, but that trauma is also a defense mechanism. Your body lets you know about that trauma because your body doesn't know when that trauma is going to happen again, and it just wants you to be prepared. I use the analogy of a car wreck. I think people that have been in car wrecks drive a lot safer than people that haven't. I think people that have been in combat are a lot safer than people that haven't. Now that you've got the 1% that gets in a car wreck, and then they're always looking for the car wreck. So that's when, it's so important that everybody kind of goes to some sort of counseling for everything. But also trauma in the veteran is the trauma. The veterans don't have the pedestal. They shouldn't have the pedestal as the only people in our society that have trauma. I've known people that have been molested, beat, raped, and I think as a community, we all need to know that when you express this trauma, go get help and have pride in yourself and being able to move forward. Not get over it, but appreciate it and move with it.
Learn from it and grow from it.
Is. And just people listening right now that haven't been in combat, if you've dealt with any trauma and the fact that you can get up every day, go to work and find meaning, you're just as tough as a Navy SEAL. I'm sorry. But if you've been raped and beaten, I challenge any Navy SEAL right now. Would you rather go to BUD/S or be raped and beaten? Let's have it out there right now. But exactly. The person that's been raped and beaten, and I'm using that extreme, they don't get the medals, they don't get the TV show, and they don't get the workout equipment.
Right.
So, but they have to know that, man, that's a powerful thing to overcome, and don't want it to happen. But I know a lot of tough people that have never served, and I don't like the divide between civilian and veteran in terms of who gives more to this country. I know plenty of men and women I've worked with, never spent a day in uniform, that have done so much for this country through infrastructure, construction, transportation, truck drivers. I got a chance to work with truck drivers in logistics, and the respect level for these guys went up. The amount of hours and danger they're doing, and realizes if you and me kill 1,000 Iraqis, nobody back here it's not going to do anything for the country.
No.
But 2 or 3 trucks stop, and a lot of people are going to run out of some stuff really quick.
Right.
You go back to World War II. Grunts sell movies. Logistics wins wars. And the people in the factories are the reason we won this war. We could send men to the beaches all day, but we had more tanks. So the people at home that aren't serving, you can be patriotic, and going to work, paying taxes, and not being a shithead on the streets is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it, I think.
They're being labeled as the worker, and I don't like the worker anymore. It's got too many communist connotations, and I'm not left or right. I like the term American builder, and when I say the word American builder, it's anybody that's providing, going to work, and giving back to the economy. The American builder and the American warrior are on par. There's no question about that. Yeah.
And there's definitely a place for each of those in society. You need to have the warriors, you need to have the builders, you need to have the the people who are contributing to society, and both of them are both groups of those people are contributing to society, and that's that's a good thing to have. And so, even like you said, even the people who haven't deployed or been in combat or whatever, like they're still contributing because they're still passing that information on to the next generation who may end up at war. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. So last kind of just like rounding out, how has your experience with the French Foreign Legion influenced the work that you're doing with the boating now and the sailing trips and things like that? Have you found any kind of correlation between that, maybe even your time in the Marines and the sailing and how all that kind of ties together?
So we dress up in red caps and blue uniforms like Steve Zissou from Life Aquatic. And we've been walking them around Miami dressed like that when we go do little sea adventures. I saw that movie and I said, that's what I want to do one day. I want to have a crew of cool people because we do know marine biologists. We definitely want to, if we can use our boats for that too, that's definitely going to be something we're doing. We want to get everybody captain's license. We got everybody TWIC cards 2 months ago through the Coast Guard or Department of Transportation. So that was the... I love that movie. I saw that movie. I said, one day I'm going to do that movie. Yes, we do want interns and they will all share a Glock. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but
I haven't, no.
But back to the Legion though, that was one of the things I did love about the Legion is giving an opportunity for men to kind of go away, men and women. Women can't join the Legion, but just given an opportunity to go away, not for 5 years, maybe for 2 weeks. There is some romanticism of going to sea, of having a bag and just going to hit the ocean. Because for me, the ocean scares the shit out of me. It's not dangerous if you're safe, and we want everybody to be safe out there. But it's like hunting or any type of outdoor activity. It's healthy for the body to get a little adventure in it. Mm-hmm. And then you get back home and then you really do appreciate a warm shower. You do appreciate good food and you appreciate not having to worry about a wave take you over and drowned.
Right.
So there is a little bit, there's things of the Legion I like. I think the Legion is a great idea for America. I think if we're going to continue this route, not to get political, but if we're going to continue our globalist route, that it wouldn't be a bad idea for men that have been in trouble to have a second opportunity to go somewhere. That's one thing I did love about the Legion is they didn't ask too many questions. I mean, unless you raped or killed anybody or child molester, obviously, you had an opportunity to go over it. I don't like the legal system now where we put this wall down and we say, you're screwed, you messed up, live your life. For me, I get a little... I get the little triangle hat going when anytime the government just starts making these concrete rules and saying, well, you're done. Like, you're not going to tell me I'm done. It's like, right. I appreciate the government, but I'm not scared of it. And I'm not anti-government. But there are certain things where we just put these laws down and we cast people out and going, oops, that's your problem now. Right. And somebody with no hope is a very dangerous person. A very dangerous person.
Yeah,
they are going to come back and commit crimes. So I would love to see a program or a paramilitary program where, convicts were rehabilitated, understood maybe some of the addiction that had caused this and got them into some federal organizations where either it was into construction or some sort of, not adventurous job, but high adrenaline job where they are giving back to the community. They are wearing uniforms. People know, those guys over there are criminals. What are they doing now? Well, they're getting paid. They have an opportunity to work for this country again and learn some skills instead of just casting them out. Because I've been to jail too, and I've been to jail, and it's a sobering experience when you meet these people and they're cast out. They have no opportunity. They're going to go back to doing drugs. And we saw this with Iraq and terrorism. I mean, I think that's why Petraeus was so influential in making sure that the youth had purpose. Because you can kill terrorists all day. You kill that guy, you kill one guy, his uncle and his cousins are going to become terrorists.
Yeah, two or three are going to pop up in his place. Exactly.
We're 20 years in Afghanistan, and it's like we're not figuring this out. Once again, that goes back down to purpose. You take away purpose, you're going to have problems. Without a question. So I'd like to see that one day. Back to my organization, it's about, there's kind of a little French Foreign Legion um, mysticism of going out for 2 weeks and doing it. But it also comes back down to that sober activity. I'm not anti-alcohol. If you can drink. But if you can't, think about it. It's not the end of the world too. And I found out that the problem with drinking is, what do you do after? And the reality is, nobody tells you that. Then you go to meetings, and meetings are great, but the more stuff you find, because it's so easy to drink, and it's more challenging to find something else to do. I can go to the gas station, grab a 6-pack of beer. That's so cute, 6-pack. Grab a 24-pack till the liquor store opens up in the morning, and I'll be fine in my apartment just staring at a wall listening to music. But I'll wake up and feel like shit. It's more challenging to find that organization, sign up, ask what you can do, and then, save up money or go on that trip. But it's more worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And I think alcohol has definitely killed the veteran community, because these guys are getting help from the VA. They're not being honest with the VA. They're going back home. They're adding those drugs with the alcohol, and then they're killing themselves, and then they're blaming the VA. And I've met too many veterans that are sitting there boozing every night, blaming everybody else. And I've said this in the meetings. You don't have a right to do that. And if you want to do that, that's okay. But you cannot go back and blame society, the VA, or the war. We've done it. You know what it is to be a warrior. You know what it is to have discipline. You don't have a right to quit, especially when we're in our 30s. We still got like 20 more years where we can go do some crazy cool shit. There's Team Rubicon, which I've applied to. I haven't gone to any of their missions, but they'll take veterans to go to disaster reliefs.
Oh, really? Okay.
These are the organizations you need to be involved in. You don't have a right to, if you're in 30 years and you're living off of disabled pay, which is, whatever, but you're missing out and you want something else, it's your responsibility to go out and give back. But you do not have a right to come back and just vegetate. That's so many years. That's, you're 30, you want to live to, that's 40 years of doing nothing. Not saying you have to go back to school, but there's so many programs you can go out back in the community and help. Boys and girls clubs. There's so many things, and I've done it too, where I, sat around for a year just working at a restaurant, restaurant work is insane. French Foreign Legion was hard, but waiting tables. I challenge every veteran to go out. If you want a good starter, get back to the civilian world, go wait tables for a good year. It'll really help you just adjust to society, and it gives just great business skills. Anytime I was having to hire people in logistics, I always looked for a restaurant, because that was just, if you can survive in a restaurant, you can do it. You can do anything.
You can do just about anything, and putting up with the customers and the complaints and everything else that goes along with it. And I've been in restaurants. I've seen that happen. Not that I haven't worked in a restaurant, but I've seen it just being a customer in there. It happens all the time. So if you can put up with that, you're golden.
That's a great transition job, I think. But there are people that do prefer. But before we go, I definitely, some careers I've done, I think veterans would be interested in, is teaching English abroad, even if it's for a year or 6 months. I actually started it without a degree, and I did pretty well because I had learned how to train people in the Marines. So I took English and I treated it like an M16. Here are the parts. Here we do it. Then we're going to talk shit, and then we're going to go. And I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I was pretty successful in it. Especially as a veteran, you've got a cool story. People are interested in you. The trick is not talking too much, though. So you get your story out, and then you let people tell your story and listen. And you can have a lot of fun and do a lot of good things and meet a lot of cool people traveling and teaching English abroad, no matter what country. So I implore everybody to go look at that. Don't look for the money, look for the adventure, and come back. It's a great thing to have on your resume. That definitely helped me in the business world. I did it for 5 years in Germany, and I got to work with all sorts of people. I got stories after stories of doing it. I mean, real quick, I had a lady, her husband was a congressman in Azerbaijan, and she calls me, she says, I can't make the appointment. Well, the policy was I got to charge you for the class because of the room. When I checked with the boss, and I said, what's the policy on a country being invaded? And he said, what? He said, well, one of my clients, she's got to go back to Azerbaijan because I think Armenia was starting to invade her country. He goes, all right, let her go this time. These are the stories you meet when you're doing this and you're traveling all over Europe. I definitely recommend that to anybody, especially you can do it for a year and come back. Another one was logistics. I found logistics was very challenging, and everything I learned in the military, I was able to apply to logistics, and I was very successful. I also had a great company I worked for, Ameritex. Another thing is you want to find companies that love America and especially love veterans. So when I started working for Ameritex, it was like butter. It was very challenging, a lot of things going on. But when you have a company that's open up to veterans and loves this country and wants to do good things for this country, it's a good time.
Right.
During COVID, we had to leave for my wife and go back to Germany, but I would have stayed another 20 years. Just love that company. So find a good company. Logistics is a great one. And then archaeology, which I'm in right now. I'll tell you what, I've been telling people, if you miss the infantry, look into getting your degree in archaeology, because it is, last week I almost stepped on a venomous snake. The day before, we had pythons on the trail we had to be careful of. Like I told you before, we got shot at the day after. You're just trudging through stuff all day, finding very cool things, very cool artifacts, and traveling around the States. So these little jobs.
And infantry definitely knows how to dig holes, so we can do that pretty well. So
I have been complimented on my holes, but I've also at the same time, the other thing with people in the military, any career you go in, go with an open mind. And what I learned in the military helped, but going into that thing, I was digging the holes too quick and too big. And people are like, this isn't helpful. This is actually counterproductive, what we're doing. And where you have problems as the military is the ego comes in. Well, I think I know how to bet. You better cut that shit out. The military is great for a good background, but every job, I've told everybody, every job you come with an open mind, prepare to start at the bottom, ask for help, and learn their way. Do not freaking argue. Act like a motivated private, and you'll be surprised how successful and how well people are going to want to work with you. That's another thing. Guys come out and they know everything. You don't know shit. Salute to you for your 4 years, but what you learn there is great, but it's not 100% you're going to do what they need. So drop the ego, monitor your alcohol, and look for purpose. And if you're going to go online dating, go on Bumble.
All right. Well, James, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today, learning about, what it is you're doing and what you've done. You've definitely had an interesting past, and your background is pretty interesting to hear about. So where can people go to get in touch with you, find out more about getting involved with sailing or anything else that you've been doing?
Right now it's easier. People in the Miami area, we're right there, just coming up and meeting us. But on Instagram, we're on SV Chasing Horizon. That's Sierra Victor. That stands for sailing vessel. So SV Chasing Horizon. If you look that up, we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram right now. We're posting pictures so people can see what we're doing. And if they like it to come out, that's the best way to contact us. At least, start following, because if you can't go for another year, at least know where to come when you can. That's the big thing is scheduling with people. So stay connected, see what we're doing. There's some cool things we do on the side too. We took some kids from the city out on the boats. We try to do that. We've actually only got to do it once, but we're going to do it again because it was an amazing time taking inner city youth on these boats they never get to go do. That's things we want to do on the side when we can. So hope people follow us. It's not a money thing. We don't want the money. Interest and people coming out and having fun. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll have links to all of those in the show notes. So anyone who's looking to follow can definitely find it there pretty easily. And, get in touch if you want to help out or join up or whatever the case may be. So thank you again, James, for joining me and sharing your story and what you're up to. It's really been a great time.
Thank you too. And I love these shows. Keep doing them, because I promise you veterans are listening to this, and I listen to them, and I'm feeding back from you guys. So it's like a big group meeting. Everybody's going to take care of something. So I hope more guys are getting on your show, sharing your story, because it's history and future generations are going to know what we did.
Yeah, that's something that the previous generations didn't have the luxury of, is a medium of publishing this type of information, in short, 30, 40-minute clips or whatever to learn about people's stories and what they did, World War II or Korea, whatever the wars were. They didn't really have those things. So it's great that we're able to do that. And thank you again for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Drive On Podcast. If you want to check out more episodes or learn more about the show, you can visit our website, driveonpodcast.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Drive On Podcast.